Good morning. Welcome to Lesson 1, Part 30. Hubba, hubba, hubba. Okay, folks, this is really exciting. We've gone through a bunch of preparatory practices, and now we're getting to some really elegant techniques. Remember, this is all from Lesson 1. The first lesson of every webinar, the first class of every 14-day retreat. It's taking a long time because we're doing it in little teeny bits, but that's okay. We're having a lot of fun. Now, as always, I gotta remind you, if this is your first time tuning in, this will not make any sense whatsoever unless you're looking at the PDF, unless you're looking at a copy, the latest copy of something called the first set of lesson texts. You can download it for free. If you're watching this video on its YouTube page, then below the video there's two links. The second link will take you to, I think it's buddhajoy.com, specifically to the class materials for the first quarter. The second item on that page will be the link so you can download this free PDF. If you're not watching this on its dedicated YouTube page, no problem. Towards the bottom right-hand corner of this video, there's a little YouTube icon. If you click that or double-click that, it'll take you to this video's dedicated page. Piece of cake. Second thing, I gotta tell you, if this is your first time tuning in to me, then listen, this ain't going to make any sense. Go back to Lesson 1, Part 1. Yes, 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 you may have been meditating as a Taoist or a Hindu or a Buddhist for many for many years. I just remember I had a flashback to someone who said, I read 3 books about mysticism. You don't need to teach me anything. I know it all. God. So, assuming you're not an arrogant dog, assuming you can be taught, go back to Lesson 1, Part 1. You'll be glad you did. Okay, now we've cleared the room. The lazy bastards are gone who won't download a free PDF. The arrogant dogs are gone who can't start with Lesson 1, Part 1. And it's just us chickens. It's just us folks who watched all 29 previous parts of this lesson, and we're raring to go. So, without any further ado, I'm going to access the PDF. I invite you to join me on page 9. We've already learned the verbal contemplations. We've already been through the 3 preliminary silent contemplations. We already understand contemplative notation. We are already familiar with the idea that on every in-breath our body spontaneously tightens, and that corresponds to holding our attention or grasping our attention. And we understand that on the out-breath our body tends to relax, and that corresponds to the act of letting go of our object of meditation. In the previous 3 exercises, what feeling, letting go, what hearing, letting go, and what seeing, letting go, those were semi-spontaneous or semi-contrived awareness techniques. And by the way, quick reminder, if you're dealing with a trauma that is based on a flashback, something you've seen, either from memory or from fantasy, then start with the visual. What seeing, letting go, what hearing, letting go, what feeling, letting go. Obviously, you don't go that fast. You take your time, 3 reps for each modality. But you get the idea. If it's not PTSD, if it's not based on a memory or a confabulation or a fantasy, or an anticipation, if it's just something you're feeling, then start with the feelings. What feeling, letting go, 3 times. What hearing, letting go, 3 times. What seeing, letting go, 3 times. Okay, We're up to speed. We've done all the verbal preliminaries. We've done the 3 silent preliminaries. And now we come to that which is truly spontaneous awareness. On the in-breath, we play with the idea of asking the question, what am I now noticing? But that's a whole lot of syllables. For the silent work, we try to keep at least 3 syllables. No more than 3 syllables long. So instead of asking, what am I noticing at this present moment, we're just going to ask, noticing, and slap a question mark on it. So it infers it's a question. Noticing on the in-breath, letting go on the out-breath. Now this is terrifying for all of us, because each of us are a natural-born coward. All of us have controlling tendencies. All of us like to be Little Miss Bossy. All of us, think, hey, I'm the smartest person in the room. I should be in charge. Well, as amusing as that little piece of humility may be, it's not necessarily accurate. Even if we were the smartest person in the room, it don't mean we're going to get our way. And if 9 times out of 10, if we try to force our way, force our will, it's just going to make things worse. There is a time to speak out and a time to shut up and sit down. It's a question of wisdom to know which is which. And so by asking, just noticing, letting go, we're letting our external circumstances, our physical circumstances, our emotional circumstances, our mental circumstances just cause various things to percolate up, various sensations, emotions, thoughts, images, desires. But it's kind of like toast in the toaster. If you have a roommate or you live with your family, and if you were like me, I was raised in upper middle class, and we had many types of bread at the same time, and someone put toast in the toaster. When it finally popped up, you had no idea what it was going to be. Was it going to be whole wheat? Was it going to be sourdough? Was it going to be rye? Was it going to be pumpernickel? Same things with our viscera. Same thing with our mind. We don't know what's going to pop up. Same thing with our circumstances. We don't know what's going to pop up. And if you're half as geeky as me, then I'll remind you of Monty Python's Flying Circus, specifically the Spanish Inquisition, where I guess my 2 favorite members of the Monty Python troupe would have to be, I can't remember their names right now. Oh well. Well, one of them just came running in with 2 friends dressed like cardinals, singing, "Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Our main tool is this and this. Okay, our two main tools is this, this, and this. Whoops. Our 3 main tools are this, 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 and this." And that's the beauty of the skit. It's hysterically funny. But likewise, just as no one ever expects the Spanish Inquisition, people 9 times out of 10 don't expect what manifests in their lives, and that's the beauty and excitement and thrill of life. Now, some people say, okay, I want to protect myself from suffering, so I'm going to be just as pessimistic as I can be. That way when bad shit happens, it doesn't surprise me. Number 1, that's like chopping off your foot in order to prevent a stubbed toe. Profoundly moronic. Number 2, it doesn't work. You're still going to suffer. But you get the extra added suffering of being a curmudgeon. Oh, joy. So, come, let us remind ourselves that we are not the masters of the universe. Listen, I tell you the truth, there are many people who approach religion as a paradigm for megalomania. And what they want to do is they figure if their faith is good and their concentration is good, they can will anything into existence. They can manifest anything at any time. Well, no. Yes, there are things we can do to aid the manifestation process. But there is a great difference between aiding the manifestation process and being all-powerful. I'll never forget one time I was conversing with an individual on Facebook, and they assured me they were a master manifester, even though they were living out of their car. Self-aggrandize much? So, I'll never forget one time I was dating a minister for a New Thought church, and she coerced me to come visit one Sunday, so I did. And the people there, the various ministers and sub-ministers of this congregation, were just using all their personal power to manifest these things left and right. There's nothing wrong with setting a positive outcome. There's nothing wrong with setting space for good stuff to happen. But if we're rigid and we don't give room for the unexpected things to occur, then when they do occur, and they always occur, it's gonna knock the wind out of us at the very least. Folks, you don't have to be Christian to be a fundamentalist. There are fundamentalists and liberals in every religion. There are Jewish, Christians, Muslims, fundamentalists, and liberals. There are Taoist, Hindu, Sikh, Jain, Buddhist, Shamanic, and Wiccan fundamentalists and liberals. Let's not be uptight, controlling, rigid, fear-oriented, intolerant fundamentalists. Let's relax. Let's laugh at ourselves. Let's have some fun. Life is a playground. If you're building a sandcastle and little Susie Durkins runs through it, you might scream, beat-faced in rage, and chase after her to beat her up. Or maybe Susie Durkins that's her way of flirting with you, and she wants you to chase after her to give her a kiss on the cheek. Let's make the most of this three-ring circus we call life. It's unpredictable, so rather than rail against its unpredictable nature, let's use it to our advantage. Noticing, letting go. Let's play with that right now. Sometimes we'll notice grotesqueries, pain, painful emotions, painful sensations. Sometimes we'll notice pleasure, pleasurable emotions, pleasurable sensations, pleasurable images on the screen of our mind. Sometimes it's just neutral. That's okay. It's not our job to control it. Yes, you heard me right. It's not our job to choose what spontaneously arises in our mind or our heart or our bodies. It's our job to be aware of it and then set space to let go of it. You're breathing out anyway. You're letting go of air anyway. You're letting go of tension anyway. Just embrace the surface sensation of intending to let go of whatever you just noticed. After doing this exercise for 3 breaths, we're moving on to the next exercise, and we're breaking with protocol. Instead of using 3 syllables, we're shrinking it down to 1 syllable. This, and we've still got a question to infer as part of the limerick. We read the big question, what am I now experiencing in this present moment? This? Free. As in, I don't know if you're old enough to remember Mork and Mindy, when he had an egg and he said, "Fly, be free," and it crashed and fell on the ground, well, it fell on the counter. You get the idea. If you're not as old as me, if you're not as old as Dirt, that's okay. You can imagine a man on a roof with a homing pigeon, and he says, "Fly, be free," and the bird flaps away, making that wonderful flappy noise that birds make. It's a wonderful noise. Likewise, we're noticing and we're letting go. Sometimes we can let go successfully instantly. Sometimes it takes a while. That's okay. Sometimes you can't let go at all. And that's okay. You do your best. It's a question of intention. This free, eyes closed, 3 breaths. I'm not sure if my microphone is picking this up, but somewhere in their neighborhood, the county tree trimmers are out trimming a palm tree, making loud noises. So that's what caught my attention. This free, let go of it. Didn't mean I stopped hearing it. Didn't mean it stopped affecting me. Just noticed it and let go. That's the secret of life. Look at Christ. Look at Lao Tzu. Look at Buddha. These men were not free from the presence of suffering, but they were free from the tyranny of suffering. They learned how to benefit from the slings and arrows of outrageous misfortune that often assailed them. I want that. I want that for you. Now, the piece de la resistance. We do this free again. Exercise 3. The last exercise on page 9. But this time we do it with our eyes open. If you have already printed out your image of Chenrezig, Zig, that's great. Stick it on the desk in front of you or on the meditation table in front of you. What's that? You don't have a meditation table or you don't have a yoga blanket? You can get that on my website. Piece of cake. Anyway, let's move on. This free your eyes gently open and softly focus on the smiling face of the Buddha of compassion. With your peripheral vision, you're able to see the stuff on your desk. Why do we open our eyes? Because the ultimate intention of meditation is not to hide from reality, but to confront reality in the most wonderful way. Like some great centered Aikido master who does not mangle or mutilate reality, but who dances with reality. Reality comes to them, they redirect and let go. What's this? I redirect and let go. It's a lot of fun. So right now, eyes softly gazing upon the smiling face of an image of Chenrezig. You can download for free. This free. Now to the right it says X apostrophe S, which means times 1-13. And you can say, hey, Lama Jigme, I'm barely getting used to the idea of counting to 3. How am I supposed to count to 13? Glad you asked. Hopefully you've already ordered a mala. Once again, you can order malas on my site. I don't make anything from the sale of malas. I just link you to someone else's website who does. They are, in my opinion, the finest quality mala for the cheapest price. I didn't say inexpensive, I said cheap. There are people who want to charge you over $100 for a mala. That's ridiculous. That's like asking, someone to choose between eating for 4 weeks or not. That's ridiculous. I've got thinner malas for girls because girls have smaller fingers than guys. I've got bigger malas for guys because they tend to have bigger fingers. One time I explained that to a student who was a bit of a feminist, and she really took umbrage with that. So I let her use my mala, and after a few minutes of playing with it, she said in a sheepish voice, I'd like to try the smaller bead now. It's not a question of bit worse, big fingers like big beads, small fingers like small beads. That's just how it works. So if you have your mala in front of you, let me make sure that this is showing up on the camera, okay? If you have your mala in front of you, here's what I recommend doing. With your hand, count the mala. I recommend you taking a pinky finger. You've got to, hopefully. Take a pinky finger and use it as a pulley. And use your thumb, not to push, but to pull. We're primates, we pull. And so pull a bead, and then pull a bead, and then pull a bead. And you're using your pinky, and that's for energetic purposes. We'll explain that in another lesson. Pulling your bead, pulling your bead, pulling your bead. This is a Tibetan-style tantric mala used in Buddhism. It's got 108 beads, actually 100, and it's got 3 turquoise spacers and 1 big wooden bead traditionally called the guru bead. So essentially it has 4 spacers and 108 beads. 108 divides by 4 into be 27. So 27 little beads plus a spacer bead means 28. So we can consider this to be, I like to call this a contemplative's abacus. How did you time your meditation in the Bronze Age? Through the cunning use of beads. So let's turn back to page 8. On page 8, what feeling letting go 3 times. What hearing, and so hopefully when you've been counting, what feeling letting go 1 time, 2 time, 3 breaths. What hearing letting go 1 breath, 2 breath, 3 breaths. And by the way, guys, if you're spastic and uncoordinated your first time, that's normal. Give yourself a break. If you do this twice a day, every day, within a week, it'll be second nature. Third exercise, what seeing letting go. First breath, second breath, third breath. See how close we're progressing across this? Now turn back to page 9. Noticing letting go. First breath, second breath, third breath. This free with your eyes closed. First breath, second breath, third breath. Now, this free, eyes open, softly gazing upon the smiling face of an image of Chenrezig, the Buddha of compassion. This free. This free. This free. It's not a race. Take your time. Let your body decide when to breathe in and when to breathe out. And remember, there's more than just 2 aspects of a breath. There's the in-breath and the out-breath. There's also gaps between the in-breath and the out-breath. So it's in-breath, hold breath, out-breath, pause breath. Don't try to choose when to do those. Let your body do it naturally. Just be aware. So you take your time, and by the time you've gotten to the spacer, you know you've got only 1 left. Make the most of it, and then you're done. And so that's how you get 13 repetitions effortlessly. There are many, and by the way, so here's another fun thing to do. When you're done with something, make sure that I'm on the screen properly. Okay, so what I like to do, what I recommend people do, is that after they've worked with their mala, remember, you've done all those verbal practices. You've recited Om Mani Padme Hum a bunch of times. So that you coil your mala. And then you take your breath that's charged by the mantra and you blow on it. There's 2 ways to blow. You can blow like you're blowing out a candle, or you can blow like you're trying to clean your glasses. I prefer the second when blessing your mala. Now you can say, hey, this whole thing with blessing sounds like it's belief and superstitious. Well, some people are more sensitive than others. This doesn't mean they're better or worse. This means they're more sensitive. There's benefits to being sensitive, and there's also, a price to be paid for sensitivity. The price of sensitivity, the price of perception is vulnerability. So if you want to be perceptive, you'll be vulnerable. If you don't want to be vulnerable, you won't be perceptive. That's just how it works. But for those of us who are really perceptive to energy, to EM, or electromagnetic phenomena, for those of us who have already practiced energy healing, whether it's Reiki, or polarity therapy, or quantum touch, or acupressure, or some such thing, those of us can feel a change in our energy when we use the 6-syllable mantra, and when we do these meditations. So this is not a question of faith or belief or superstition. For me, this is simply a question of consistently observable phenomena. Everything we do generates energy. Some good, some bad, some neutral. Something positive, like doing these wisdom contemplations in connection with the recitation of the six-syllable mantra generates an awful lot of good energy. And sometimes there's a question, not if the energy is good, but what you're going to do with it. And that reminds me of the next lesson. The next lesson, we begin a process by which you take the good energy you've already generated through your contemplations, concentrations, and recitations. Remember, the concentration was just noticing what's going on. The contemplation was asking these really cool questions. And the recitation was Om Mani Padme Hum. Well, next lesson, we're going to figure out how to use that not only to keep our good karma from blowing away, but to multiply our good karma. That's right, folks. It's meditation for hedge fund managers. So that's all you get. That is arguably the conclusion of the formal meditation session for the first lesson. We're going to learn in the next couple lessons is sealing the practice, which not only multiplies our good karma, but is a contemplation in and of itself. A contemplation where we first begin to explore. We remind ourselves what enlightenment is, and we explore compassion and love to a great degree in just a handful of exercises. So I look forward to working with you at the next part of the first lesson. Quick benediction. May you and yours be healthy and happy. Om Mani Padme Hum. Let me see here. At the bottom of your video, there's a thumbs down button and a thumbs up button. Click the thumbs up button. Click the like button. Once you do, it'll open up 3 more buttons right around here. Social networking buttons. A Facebook button, a Twitter button, and a Google Plus button. Click all 3. Share this stuff with others. It's just as simple as clicking. Pretty easy way to change the world, wouldn't you agree? Now, I mentioned there are 2 links below the video. The first link is a registration link, so you can join in the next series of weekly webinars. Those begin Friday, the 2nd of November. I'll see you there. Bye-bye.